Hola, hola a todos, amigos, amigas. Welcome to Lima, Peru once again. Welcome to the city capital of this beautiful country we call Peru, known also as the country or land of the Incas, known as the land of the wonderful food, the wonderful Peruvian cuisine, known also as the country of amazing historic events and a country of religiosity, a country where about 80% of the Peruvians, the people of this country, identify with the Catholic faith. So today we're going to try to unriddle, try to understand what means to be Catholic in Peru, because for Peruvians to be Catholic, it probably means one thing, and maybe for Italians being Catholic, it means a different thing. So today we're going to understand how this Catholic faith of the Peruvians is so unique. Which ones were these elements that all together created this faith that we all say is Catholic, but I would say is more syncretic. So we're going also to understand the three cultural currents that influenced the Catholic faith of the Peruvians. I'm going to visit sites that are related deeply with the Catholic faith among Limenians, the people of my city. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City tour guide. I am a Limeña, born and raised in this beautiful city. And Lima is part of me. It's very, very special for me. It is where my family lives. It is where I am raising my kids. And I understand perfectly how means to be Catholic in this country because I've been raised also by Catholic people. I am not Catholic, by the way, but as a Catholic raised person, I will say give you an understanding, a deeper understanding of the faith of the locals. So before we begin the tour, I would like to say hi to all the people joining today's event. Thank you so much for coming and being with me in every occasion. It really means a lot to me, your company. I know they are wonderful tours happening at this time, at the same time. So thanks for coming, for jumping to Lima. Hello, Larry. Hi, Lynn. Hola, hola. Hi, Debra. Hi, Hans. Hola, hola, Maria, Chloe. Hola, Larry. Grace. Hello, Doreen. Oh, JB. Hola, hola, Pat. Gertrude. Hola, amiga. Hello, Addicted to Hago. I love your name. Camila. Hola. Thanks for joining, Marilyn. So, as you always know, well, the comment chat section is a wonderful tool for all of us to understand a bit better the tour. So, if you have a question or if you want to know something like in detail, more in detail, use this comment section. If you want to comment or ask something about the tour, I will be definitely answering right away or as fast as I can when I see the question here. If it's something concerning to other things that more personal, well, I can answer them later at the end of the tour. Also, thanks a lot for our friends that are also helping the tours with a tip. As you know, these tours are not paid by Hago; they are paid with your generosity, with your tip support. So, if you are able to support with a tip, I know not always is possible, but if you are able to do it, thanks so much in advance. If you want to know where is the tip support button, I am activating it for you. So I will do it once we've almost finished the tour again. If you don't know where it is, but there you have the information where you can donate. Any amount that is in your possibility. We also share the tips with Hago, as you know, for this platform to keep running free, with no payment in anticipation, so everybody can join to the tours. That's what we also tour guys want. Also, one more thing, which is you can donate during the whole tour, even after the end of this tour. So you don't need to do it right away. So, muy bien, amigos. I think it's the time to begin this tour. And let me tell you that I have named this tour. I am posting, by the way, the name of the tour, the history, let's say, of the Catholic religion in Lima. It is religion according the Peruvians, and also we're going to talk about the syncretism of the religion in Peru. Syncretism is related with the mix of the fusion of different ideas or even religions. So we're going now to begin, and we're going to be walking in Lima for about 40 more minutes. So the idea is to see places that are connected with the history of the Catholic faith in Lima, and therefore, of course, in Peru. We are the capital of Peru, so the history of the city of Lima has affected directly and indirectly sometimes the way how Peruvians are. So we are right next to the Church of Saint Dominic in this moment in process of restoration. Hola Marilu, thanks for coming. Hola Katy. You can see that there are some works of restorations. Hola, hola. But the Church of Saint Dominic, Santo Domingo Church, which is also very famous because of its towel. This is a very unique towel, that bell towel that you can see also has this Rococo decoration, very unique. It's the only Rococo, let's say, decorative element in a church that we have standing in Lima. Lots of the Rococo architecture collapsed after earthquakes. So this church is also very famous because within this church live one of the most beloved saints of Peru, Saint Martin of Porres. I will be talking about Saint Martin of Porres during this tour, of course, as well. It's one of my favorite saints. But before we talk about St. Martin of Porres, before we talk about St. Rose of Lima, so prepare to these biographies to come in a little while during this tour. Let me tell you something. No? In this moment, the church is closed. It's staying most of the time closed, unfortunately. But there is an altar inside that I am sharing an image for you all to see that is called the Altar de los Santos Peruanos, or the altar of the Peruvian saints. So if you give a click, you do a click on that picture, you're going to see a superb, like very, very golden altar. But if you're able to see in detail what is in the altar, these elements that are there, like exactly in the center, there's one that I think is more evident. There is a skull. We have relics of saints in the altar. So, meaning that in Peru, like worshiping, let's say, the saints in this way with the relics is something still very much accepted. Also, those elements or those relics are like let's say bones and skulls also of three saints, very important. Saint Rose of Lima in the center, Saint Martin of Porres, the first black saint of the Americas, on the left, and on the right, San Juan Macias, an Spanish-born saint, but who lived and who made his work as a monk in Lima. So, we're going now to be immersed into the history of the evolution of the Catholic faith in Lima and in Peru. And it's interesting because Peruvians, we are mixed blood, we are culturally mixed, and even our religion is very mixed. Our architecture is also mixed. Like, look at this. We have a pretty facade of a house, which is known as the Casa de Osambela. Osambela is the last name of the family who, during part of the history of this house, owned this mansion. And this was one of the most lavish constructions, civilian constructions in Lima. So this is the type of architecture you can find in my city. The wooden balconies, for example, representing the importance of the Spanish influence, and not just the Spanish influence. This is actually Moorish influence, because this style came from the section in Spain where the Arabs, for a long period of time, were and they left also their imprint in that part of the country of Spain. And later the conquistadors came and they introduced that style in this country. So isn't this wonderful? The fact that what we consider was Spanish. In reality, it was not just Spanish. Also Spain, a country that had lots of influences, and they were also passing through lots of fights and lots of wars and lots of reconquest periods. Also, they were very mixed at the time of the conquest of the New World, and they introduced those mixed elements here, mixing them more with the ones of the locals, right? So we're seeing in the distance the beautiful pink towel of the Church of Saint Dominic. So the tower of the church is one of the highlights of Lima. It is over 40 meters high, so it's very special because in the historic center of Lima, there's no other tower like that one of the Church of the Dominicans. So we're going to continue now, and let's talk about the three pillars of the Peruvian faith, of the Peruvian religion. The religion of the Limenians, the Catholic faith. So when you talk to Peruvians, about let's say 80% of the country, of the people of the country, we have about 32 million people in Peru, will say, well, I am Catholic, right? But what does Catholic religion means to most people? Many people really just say they are Catholic because it's a tradition, because their grannies raised them Catholic, because they have to go to church, when there is a wedding, right? Because it's the tradition to baptize your kids, right? So just to let you know that this is more like a social thing for most people being Catholic. So the conviction is a little bit different, right? So most Peruvians are very, let's say, inclined to worship naturally. No, we are inclined to believe in greater spirits that are protectors. We are inclined to believe in God, of course, by tradition. And this is something the Incas also did, right? But now we're going to talk about the Spanish influence in the Catholic faith of the Peruvians, because, of course, we wouldn't be Catholic without the Spanish, right? The Spanish conquistadors came, and we always say, like, in one hand with a sword and in the other one with a cross. If you didn't accept the cross, the faith, in good terms, they will force you, because that was the way things were. They were dealing with a conquest, and also they had to legitimize their presence here by the faith, by their good actions in transforming the indigenous into the one and only religion, which was their religion, to justify also the big transformation of this territory, right? So it's a different time, and I'm not trying to justify at all what happened during that time, but we cannot, let's say, think of the Spanish conquistadors as we will think of the people of this time. So, well, they were, of course, in this quest of conquering and annexing new territory and understanding this new territory. Also, they were making the way into this land spiritually with the help of religious orders. Also, welcome, by the way, to my friends that are just joining. We're talking about an understanding the Peruvian faith, the Catholic faith. What is the Catholic religion in this part of the world? What is the base of the Catholic religion that we say we have, right? So the religious orders that came with the conquistadors were the Dominicans, the Franciscans, the Mercedarians, the Augustinians, and the Jesuits. They were the first ones that came in the early years of the conquest. In particular, the Franciscans and Dominicans, they were very important. They fought side by side, spiritually in their way also, and the conquistadors with the swords, right? At the time of the expansion, of this, let's say, soldiers in this territory, which were very few, and in big part, their faith was their support, right? In times in which they had no idea if they will be able to survive, right? So, of course, we're talking about a time in which the faith was the motor for most of these people to keep going. So the religious orders, in return of their work, what they did during the conquest time, they were given lands to build their churches, to build their monasteries. Of course, when they came to Lima in the year 1535, it was 16th century. There was nothing really here in this section. Now we see pretty constructions and beautiful houses and wooden balconies, and all of this splendor of the historic center that now is a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1991. But when they came here, there was nothing. Some historians believe there was an Inca town, but there are not enough archaeological evidences to demonstrate that there was an Incan town right in this location. Also, look at this beautiful house that is we're about to see. This is a private house because we're not getting that much into it. But look at the entrance, the typical saguan, which is this sort of like a corridor, a transit into inside the house, into the garden or patio that is there, right? And the saguan, and after that patio is the house, right? And these sections on the side, like one here and another one there, these were the offices of the family, the owner of the patriarch of the family, the gentleman of the house, or the man of the house. This person will have his offices in that section. So the house was actually after that saguan, after that patio that you see in the front at the entrance, right? So we will continue now walking, and well, remember that the religious orders were fundamental to transform the religion of the indigenous, right? So the local indigenous had no idea what was the Catholic faith, Jesus Christ, Virgin Mary. Actually, many of the concepts of the Catholic religion were really strange. Like, they might have sound like crazy at some point for the indigenous, because like the idea of a savior, that save you from sins, that the children are born with sin, right? Like, that's very strange, the indigenous really didn't understand that. Also, the idea that the mother of the savior was a virgin, right? Virginity was really not prized in the same way like in Europe by the Incas. No, the Incas didn't consider virginity to be, a way to demonstrate the value of a woman. So basically, things like that were completely odd for the indigenous. Therefore, to begin with the instruction of these people into the new faith, requested stripping these people from their own religion. And these people, let's say, conquistadors, and later the priests and the extirpators of idolatries, which was the group that organized to strip these indigenous from their faith that was considered wrongdoing, they had to use the force. And one of the things they started to realize is, although many communities were supposed to be Catholic in the first years after the conquest, people converted into Catholic faith. Later, the priests started to realize that the images of the virgins or Jesus Christ that these people worship were disguising inside holy stones, huacas, also elements that were related with the old faith, right? So the indigenous, like sort of like created some external, let's say, like Christian images, like to these huacas that were in reality still holy and worship, right? So that's why it was necessary for this Spanish to eradicate the faith of these indigenous as much as they could, right? But of course, there were people that were resisting this new faith of the Spanish for a long time. There were people who actually organized and they fought the Spaniards, wanting also to, in a way, also not let die their faith. But unfortunately, this resistance didn't last forever, right? Unfortunately for the people who were fighting and resisting, because many were killed in the first decades after the conquest. So we are now going to do a little stop to that story. I am starting also with the harsh part of the influence of the Catholic faith in Peru, because it was a harsh beginning. We cannot tell a pink legend about this. By the way, this section, we are seeing the, let's say, to be very honest, one of the sides of the church of St. Rose of Lima. Now is the back of the church. But I will tell you in a moment that originally the church didn't face where nowadays it faces. Okay? So this is the way how originally the church of St. Rose of Lima was decorated. It's a really pretty church from the 18th century. And recently, the frescoes, let me just do a little zoom on the frescoes. These frescoes, sort of like tile work, painted, right? Recreating gigantic tiles, because these are huge, huge decorations, were originally used on the sides of this church. And you know what's the most important thing? And let me just move a little bit forward to show you the house where Saint Rose of Lima lived. So, who was Saint Rose of Lima? Santa Rosa de Lima. Okay, so we are now going to be immersed in the Catholic faith as the faith was lived back in the colonial times, right? Of course, things have changed a lot since that time. We are not using any more siliciums in Peru, right? But this was the way how people used to live their faith, with siliciums, with physical pain, with restriction of food, depriving you of food, right? To live in body and flesh, let's say that the sadness, of the tortures that Jesus Christ lived when he was to be killed, right? So this is, hola Elizabeth, amiga, hola amigos that are joining. My friend Elizabeth from Arequipa is here. Amiga, gracias for coming. So this is the house where Saint Rose of Lima lives. So who is Saint Rose of Lima? Let me share with you. First of all, I want to share with you the images of the 5 official saints of Peru. Dear friends, Peru had the exorbitant number of 5 saints officially pronounced. We have actually 5 saints, right? Like, is a huge number, official by the Vatican. They are not saints of the people. They are official saints. If you click in the image, the first one, for example, you will see the name of each one of the saints. Saint Rose of Lima, Saint Martin of Porres, San Juan Macías, San Francisco Solano, and Santo Toribio de Mogrovejo. And they all live in Lima. So we have monopolized the saints. Of course, there are other saints in the country. I mean, people on the way to sanctity. But the official saints and the most famous of Peru, they all live in Lima. And in the second picture, you can see the faces of the saints. And we're going to go back to the faces of those saints a little bit later. So now, let me tell you a bit more about Saint Rose of Lima. I have a picture over there about her biography if you want to read more about her later. And a picture of the recreation of her face using the skull of the saint. Because indeed, the skull of the saint exists. Do you remember that is in the Church of the Dominican Order? Of course, yes, right? The Dominican Order has in their power the skulls of three saints that are relics that were used a few years ago by a mixed team of forensics from Brazil and from Peru. They used the skulls, they did three-dimensional copies of those skulls, and then they made the recreation of the faces, giving us back the face of the beautiful Rose of Lima. We knew from the stories of the biographers and the people who were friends of her and people who saw her that she was beautiful inside and out. Uh, Inside, well, let's say, because she was a really wonderful person. She gave also a lot from her to the poor, but also beautiful because of the standards of that time. There are many things that she did also when she was alive that I don't really like much, because the idea of, like punishing your body as much as she did, depriving her body, her sleep, it will not be a concept that I will support in my daughters, for example, nowadays. But we're talking about a long time ago. We're talking about the end of the 16th century, beginnings of the 17th century. So things were very different. So St. Rose of Lima was born in the year 1586, and she died just at 31 years old age, in the year 1670. So St. Rose of Lima was a lady of her time, indeed. But in a way, she always tried to be, a little bit more independent than most of the people of her time. Most of the people, let's say, of women of her time. And that is because she wanted to dedicate her life to God since very young, since age 5 years old, my dear friends. She decided to embrace chastity. She decided that she will not marry. 5 years old, right? And also, she started to deprive of her body of eating when she was about 10 years old. And then later, when she was an adolescent still, she decided to embrace, a life of a nunnery. But her family didn't really like much this idea, because she had a family of many, many siblings. And back then, women couldn't work, right? So the only income the family got was from the marriages, from the dowry, I think it's called, right? That, well, you could get also, like, when you marry, you are also being given some benefits, so far I know, or at least is what is described by the biographers. So the family didn't like the idea that they will have to support Rose permanently, because if she didn't marry, who will be supporting her? Just a little interruption. This is the Church of St. Rose of Lima nowadays. This is the facada. The facada used to be looking to the avenue on the other side, right? But some years ago, the avenue that you see here in 1940s was open, made bigger, right? So the facada actually went to that section, uh, and now we have opened this other section of the street. So we have widened the street. Thank you, Sam. Dowry. Thank you. I'm learning always new words. Thank you, Sam. And that's why the facada was moved to this other section. And why I have taken you to this part, it is very simple. The reason is because in some occasions, this section is open to visitors who are devoted to St. Rose of Lima. So this is where St. Rose of Lima used to live. I mean, for people who are devoted to St. Rose, they come to here, they do pilgrimages to here, because that little ermita, that little room that you see there from Adobe, I'll try to zoom a little bit for you, is where she lives. She sleep in there. She actually sleep not much. She had a very, very tiny bed in there, and instead of a pillow, she used a stone. There she put her face to rest, wanting to deform her face because she didn't want it to look beautiful. She wanted to look the less attractive possible, because she had many suitors. right? And also, there is a whale which is over there, so you can see part of the frame of the whale. So when she decided to, sort of like a not marry a man, marry just God, she started to use a chastity veil, and she threw the key of the chastity veil in that whale. I'm sharing with you a picture of the time when this section is open to visitors, and there you can see the whale if you do a click, and you can see the numbers of people that are getting close to that whale when it is open, this space, to throw a letter inside. Oh, because it's believed that if you throw a letter there, if you send a message to Rose, the your wish is going to made true by her intersection, by her help. So this is where people come to pray to Rose. There are people that are indeed very much devoted to Rose of Lima. Just you can see like the devotion of people, which is something I really, really respect, because in these times to still have faith, it is amazing. Many people are losing their faith on one side. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about faith. It is harder for many people to keep their faith in times in which the computers are replacing like the human relations, and people feel more and more empty inside. So I think Latin Americans, we are a way also for coping, no, with the problems that we have in our nation, is being the faith. So the idea of St. Rose of Lima, like as the Spanish influence, like traditional religious influence in our faith of nowadays. Gracias, Han. Thank you. It's really the beginning, let's say, of this explanation. But we are not, of course, the exact same, like Spanish devotees of the Catholic faith of the times when Saint Rose of Lima lived. No, 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 no. We have a complete mix, syncretic religion, which I'm going to prove in this moment we have. And we are now going to talk about the African influence in our faith, amigos. And to do that, we have to talk about the saint of the broom, the Santo de la Escoba, Saint Martin of Porres. Who was Saint Martin of Porres? Well, the reason why I'm showing you this house is because this house, which nowadays is in the hands, is owned by the Dominican order, is where San Martin of Porres was born, in the street Espiritu Santo, Holy Spirit. It was the name of this little street back in the colonial times. So here I will share with you two images. One is an image of Saint Martin of Porres, the first one, with the recreation, the modern recreation made by the forensics that I was saying. Also, there was a cooperation between Brazilian forensics and Peruvian forensics to give a face to the saints that are considered the most important of Peru, San Rose of Lima, San Martin of Porres. And the second one is a biography about San Martin of Porres, if you want to see it later. So Martin of Porres, or Saint Martin of Porres, was born in the year 1579, and he died at 70 years old in the year 1639. Saint Martin of Porres is, to be honest, my favorite saint, my favorite saint, because he was a person that was the sweetest. What this is what we know from the biographers that had, let's say, lived in that time in Lima. Like, it is really amazing. He had all the like the odds for living a happy, fulfilled life, especially because he was a mulatto. His father was a Spanish. His mother was a liberta, so a free black from Panama. He was born here in Lima, as well as in Rose of Lima. Actually, very interesting, right? Saint Martin of Porres live here, and Saint Rose of Lima live here, right in front, right? Were they friends? It is not very clear if they were friends. Remember that friendships in the colonial times between men and women were not very common, or they were very controlled. And if there were some friendships, they should be of the same social status or condition. And Saint Rose of Lima, she was, well, basically a Spanish descendant, right? Or we would call her criolla, criolla. But Martin of Porres was mulatto. So he was black, right? And also another thing important, that he was uh, illegitimate because his parents didn't marry. He was recognized, of course, but his skin color, was also one of the biggest problems that he had in life, because he faced lots of discrimination in a society that was very like elitist also, and colorist. And another thing important is, even when he wanted to be a priest, he faced discrimination because of his skin color. Even his father, who was a very noble man, he was sort of like, he was a person of certain level of nobility at some point. He converts to the Dominican order because he wanted to be Dominican. And the Dominican order said, you cannot uh, join the order because you are black, right? But you can be received as a donado. What is donado? Donado means in English to donate, right? So you had to be donated as if you were a thing, not a person. So you will not receive any let's say rank in the order. You just had to, like, give yourself to the order and be a servant in the house. And well, he said, yes, I want to be in the order. He didn't care. But his father said, no, how can you, a Porres, because Porres was a name very important, a last name very important. A Porres will be, let's say, Donado, no? That would be terrible for our name. You can see St. Martin of Porres there. For example, this is a section where there are lots of saints on sale, right? Um, and well, he said, Father, it is your self-image that is talking, because we all are servants of God. Nobody is more important than other, and this is my wish. I want to serve as the poorest servant to God, right? So these are words taken from biographers who were able to meet San Martin of Porres, a man who lived 70 years of his life, in a time when 70 years was quite a lot of time, to be honest, back in those days, especially because of the diseases. And what was the secret of his longevity? Well, he didn't sleep much, he didn't really like eat much. He was vegetarian. He was a vegetarian person. Mm? And he loved animals, right? Also, by the way, let me tell you that this section has something really interesting, because we're talking about San Martin of Porres, but we're also seeing here elements that are related with Santeria, for example. No, we have the reading of the coca leaf. We have the reading of the tarot. We have the cleanse of the aura. We have the baños de florecimiento, no, the bath to flourish your business, your work. So, what is this really doing here? Because in theory, we are talking about religion, a religious section, but in reality, for most Peruvians, it is not really. It doesn't make any conflict to believe in God and in the Catholic religion and in the saints, and at the same time, reading the coca leaf, or like asking someone that handles Santeria and clean your aura if you feel you are being poisoned spiritually by someone, that is your enemy, right? So for us, we have ended up living in a situation, a spiritual situation, a religious situation in which all of this is possible, and nothing really contradicts the other. And all of this, a strange, like, let's say, cohabitation of these religions, it started, to be honest, in the time of the conquest and the first years of the establishment of the religion in Peru, because at some point many of the religious orders, knowing that, look at the candles, for example, this is for Santeria, this is for let's say, to doing this religious tables of the Andes, for example, no, that where we have the candles, the velas, we have let's say the rosaries, we have the saints, and at the same time we have the coca leaf, right? We have all of these elements, or for the good luck. Who remembers the color for good luck in Peru? Oh, amigos, which one is the color of good luck in Peru? Does any one of you have been in my New Year's Eve tours? Ah, look at these candles. We have candles that are like for the. Muy bien, Pamela. Bravo, bravo. Muy bien, Adrian. Excelente, Marilyn. Yes, yes. 100 points for you all. Muy bien, muy bien. Yes. So the yellow color, amarillo, is the color of good luck. So what is all of this doing in a street that is connected with the saints? Well, here is where faith still is alive. So people who are devoted to saints, they are also inclined to believe in spirituality, and therefore, if you believe that what you're asking for is something good and not bad, if it's not black magic, it's white magic or red magic. Red magic is related with love, by the way. Also, you are not really doing something wrong. You are believing in the good things, right? So, Angelo underwear, yes, Marilyn. We have images of baby Jesus, for example, el niño Jesús, el bebé Jesús. And we have also, this is something you would like to see. Also, this is the little genie of the Andes, Ekeko. The Ekeko in the Andes, in Puno, for example, is Puno and Bolivia. Most of Bolivia, people have the Ekeko as a little genie that gives you good luck. And these elements that are hanging in the Ekeko, we have the dollars, for example, we have the soles, we have the little houses, we have like the food. This is for also good luck. So, well, this is a little bit of what we have in a section where spirituality and religion and Santeria and all of that coexist. When the conquistadors came, they introduced the Africans into this territory. They introduced the Angoleños, people from Angola, people from, let's say, the Guinea Equatorial. They introduced people from different parts of the territories of Africa that were controlled by mainly Portuguese. You know that the Portuguese also control the coasts, the Atlantic coast of Africa for a long period of time. And they were the ones with the trade with the black. And the black came first, and later they also introduced their own tradition, even though they were not permitted, but it happened. Look at these beautiful cutie images of San Martín de Porres, San Martin of Porres. And you can see also, gracias, solo estamos pasando, gracias. And we have also the images of, in some cases, of San Martin of Porres with the symbology of at the feet of the saint, a cat, a mouse, and a dog. There is a legend that says that in one occasion, San Martin of Porres was in his house, in the house of the Dominicans, and he was cleaning, as always with a broom, and one mice always was coming into the house, and bothering all of the
like the making very angry all of the Dominicans. So they wanted to kill the mouse. But San Martin loved the animal, so he didn't want this mouse to be killed. He befriended the mouse, and he talked to the mouse, and he said, "Oh, my dear friend, you have to be a good mouse. You have to eat with your brothers, your brother cat, and your brother dog from this plate that I'm putting here, and you all have to live happy and be good friends." So, in front of the eyes of the surprised Dominicans, the three animals went to eat from to the same plate, all very happy. And everybody said, "Oh my God, this is a miracle." So Martin of Porres, he never said he was doing miracles. He said that it was the will of God. That it was always him doing everything, right? So he never took any credit for any miraculous thing he did. By the way, talking about the African influence in the religion, well, this is a culinary, let's say, influence. And here you can see the famous turrón de Doña Pepa. So what is the turrón de Doña Pepa? I was trying to find a translation of what this dessert is, right? I found the word nougat. Nougat. So it's a dessert, and it's made from a flour that is a mix of sweet potato and pumpkin, and it's really delicious. So the turrón de Doña Pepa, or the nougat of Doña Pepa, has also its own peculiar story. Well, Doña Pepa, or Josefa. Pepa is the nickname we give to the Josefas, right? So Josefa Marmanillo, she was a free slave. No, so she was liberta. So she was originally a slave who was given the freedom, but not because the owners of Josefa were very good person. More because she was a cripple. She was like a put to work too much during her life, and unfortunately, she was so sick that she was useless to her masters. So that's why she was given the freedom, because she was really more a waste of money for the masters than really something of that can a person that could let's say give them any benefit. So well, she came to Lima, but she was very poor. She had no idea how to make a living. So she decided, of course, to find work, but nobody was able to give her a work because she was very sick. Her Probably she had something like rheumatism or arthritis, something in her joints, especially in her arms. She couldn't cook. She couldn't do much. She couldn't wash clothes. What was that dessert called? Oh, Marilu, it is turrón de Doña Pepa. Let me show you the name over here. Turrón de Doña Pepa, or turrones, when you're talking about many, turrones de Doña Pepa. ¿Sí? Muy bien. So, well, I was saying that, well, one night, she prayed to God, and she prayed to the image that is in this church. This image that I will show you, an image of this representation of Jesus Christ crucified, is known as one of the most miraculous we have in Peru, the Lord of the miracles, Señor de los milagros, right? So she prayed one night to the image, saying, "God, please, cure me. I promise to do whatever you want, but please cure me." And when she went to sleep, she was sleeping in her dream, God talked to her, and he said, "Well, Pepa, I will cure you, but I want you to prepare for me a delicious dessert." And she said, "Yes, of course, dear God, but what kind of dessert can be good for you? All the desserts I do are not enough good." And he said, "Oh, Pepa, no worries. I will give you the list of ingredients of this dessert that I want you to do for me. And when she woke up, she had the list of the ingredients and she made them right away. And she was able to create the turrón de Doña Pepa, that is the one we enjoy every October, also during the year, but in October is official that every Peruvian eats turrón de Doña Pepa. Hola, Chef Anish, namaste. So this is the Church of Nazarenas, where the holy image of Señor de los Milagros is, and this is, by the way, if you click in the picture, you'll see the image, which was made by a black man. Let me just give you an idea how this painting was made in a very old like shack, like where black slaves were reunited, were put like awaiting to be sold. This was a section where the black people were put to await for their new masters to come. They were put on sale in the market later. Some of these slaves also lived permanently here in this section. So it was a zone with a lot of poverty, right? And this image was painted by an unknown Angoleño, someone from Angola. We don't know the name of this person, but we can imagine, like from the image you're seeing there, how with big faith already, probably this person, Catholic, painted the image of Jesus. That is the exact one you see in the main altar. And it was in the year 1651 when it was painted on a wall of adobe. The wall still is the same one. Adobe is the original painting, the one we have in the main altar. Now it is closed, as you can see, but it's still there. And well, later, years after, in the year 1671, because of the big faith black people had about this image, and the Spaniards believed, no, that is not possible, that to be an image, that represents God, like made by a black man. All their holy images were made by white artists, right? And also, to make things worse, the image of the Jesus is very dark. It's dark skin, right? So, well, the Spanish people of the time, the viceroy said, no, no, no. This image has to be erased. And, well, they tried to erase it, but they couldn't. And that is because every time someone tried to erase the image, like a light flashed their eyes. They tried to do it 3 times and they couldn't. They couldn't paint the wall. So finally, people believed it was a miracle. And one of the curiosities, this is the image also just to give you an idea how famous is the image of the Lord of the Miracles, Señor de los Milagros. So we have lots of these amulets of Señor de los Milagros. Let me tell you one curiosity to finish also this event. We are missing the indigenous influence. How come? Of course, we are not missing it because we are saving it for the end. Something very important that happened in this location, and just to give you one example, is that we had here the black people, right? In this section of Lima. This is where the black people were. But also, there was a community of indigenous from a zone called Pachacamac, where like where the Spanish tried to conquer, of course, and they moved the indigenous from there, from that side that was considered to be, a horrendous place where the devils of the Incas live, and they moved the indigenous to this location. So we had a zone where the black and the indigenous live. This place was called for long Pachacamilla as well, because the little Pachacamac, because of the indigenous. The indigenous were devoted of the god called Pachacamac, which is the image you are seeing here in the picture I just shared in the comment section. So this god, Pachacamac, was the god of the earthquakes. And this image of Jesus Christ has one attribute. And you know what attribute it is? To stop the earthquakes. The exact same, let's say, power that the other god Pachacamac had, right? So I am going to give you a last view of the beautiful church of Nazarenas, and we are now going to wrap up this tour, telling you a couple of things about what my own opinions about the Catholic faith in Peru. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for joining this tour until the end, for being with me until the end of this tour. Just last words about this special tour that I have designed, especially with the intention of telling you and showing you what is the Catholic faith. So the conclusions of this tour will be that the Catholic faith of Peruvians is completely syncretic. Like we are not just Catholic. But basically, the Catholic religion has been like that always. Like we are not in the world having a Catholic religion that is pure. Even the ceremonies, the celebrations in Europe, they are most of the times, like ways how the church has accommodated to ceremonies who were pagan, for example, right? So that is in a way the beauty of the religions around the world. That's how I see it, also, which are expressions of the alive culture, the culture that is alive of people that fusions with the faith of the ancestors. So our Catholic religion is Incan, is African, and is also Spanish, and is a very unique. Therefore, it's a very unique faith. Sometimes you will probably wonder, like, why these Peruvians go to worship the dead on the Day of the Dead, and they literally worship the dead. So we bring food and alcohol drinks and all of that to the tombs, and we celebrate and we drink and we party with the spirit of our dead that is there. That is indigenous. That is pre-Hispanic, but it's as well Catholic too, right? Because well, the Day of the Dead is also a Catholic celebration. Anyways, Catholic religion in Latin America is very, very unique. And I hope that you come to Peru. When you come in person, you will be able also to let's say, understand a little bit better of these expressions of culture thanks to this tour. Oh, Caitlin, thank you so much for your tip support. Muchas gracias, amigos, who were able to support. Also, I would like to say a special thanks to you all because you are the fuel that helps me and allows me to continue doing these tours, especially in times when, Peru is not receiving tourism because of the political situation we are having and the unrest. So there are many, many tours that are being canceled in Peru for the rest of the year. So your support for me is valuable and for my family as well because you're helping me to continue doing these events. Also, well, if you're able to support and you don't know how to, let me activate the tip button. You can support even after the end of this tour. So thank you so much in advance for that. As you know, also Heygo doesn't charge any tickets to get into the tours, which we tour guys love actually because we want these tours be open to everybody, and we just count on your generosity to continue doing these tours. So we are basically paid by your tips. So thanks so much for that in advance, Madison. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Adrian. All my tours are unique. I don't repeat tours, by the way. So please come to all of the tours that I'm doing in Lima because every time there's something new I'm doing. You can also follow my channel. There's a follow button somewhere in the upper part. If you don't see it, it's because you already follow me. I will be doing next week lots of really interesting tours. So you're invited to all of them, including a cooking class. And also, I am part of the sponsorship program. If you would like to sponsor this channel, it is a $10 fee, let's say, for being a sponsor. I am giving as a present private lessons for my sponsors via Zoom of Spanish. I do 2 open Heygo Spanish classes like every month. I will be doing them permanently, but also I'm doing 2 additional more for my sponsors on Zoom to practice and to hear you how you repeat and you say Spanish. So in that way, that could be very helpful. And also to my sponsors, I'm giving away 2 books that I'm writing. They are in process. One is a guidebook of Lima, and another one is a cookbook. So if you would like to also receive these books and the Spanish classes, and maybe you can also become a sponsor, I will highly appreciate that. And this is my way to say thanks to you all. But my tours are going to be always open to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a sponsor or if you tip. All my tours are open to everybody. I truly believe that education has to be, open and with no conditions. That money should not be involved in getting education. Just, your wish to learn. So, well, my amigos, thanks a lot for coming and thanks for following. Gracias, Gloria, for following the channel. Oh, gracias. Yes, don't you love my earrings? I just got them. It's, some llamas, I think they are. So, my pretty llamas. Well, sending you lots of love and wish your weekend will be lovely and beautiful. Thanks from Lima, Peru, your tour guide, Vanessa. And well, have a lovely rest of the weekend. Enjoy. Gracias, amigos. Until the next time. See you soon. Gracias, Debra, my dear. Gracias, gracias. Gracias, Marilu. Gracias, Marilyn. Gracias, Sarah, Kaylin, Andrea, Adrian. Ciao, ciao. See you soon.